Good evening all and welcome to our Live on the Sofa with event. I'm Hannah and I'm the events coordinator for the Supporters Club. Tonight we are joined by our host Vic Morgan and former assistant manager Fabrizio Piccareta. As always, we are fundraising for the Prospect Hospice, so if you can and are able to, please do donate via our Just Giving page. If you've missed any of our previous live stream events, so we've had some guests, the guests of Charlie Austin, Ivo Graham, Richie Wellens, Tom Broadbent, Dion Conroy and a couple of others. You can catch those over on our Facebook page, they are all recorded. And also, if you haven't already got one, we have got 2 Champions t-shirts that we've put together to celebrate the title win, so please do check those out. And now I will bring Vic onto the stream.
Hannah, good evening to you. Good evening to you.
Nice to see you.
And you.
I will now bring Fabrizio onto the stream also.
Hello, hello Anna. Good evening.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Hi.
So I am now going to disappear. I will leave you in Vic's very capable hands and I'll be back a little bit later on. So if, as always, if anyone does have any questions, please drop them in the comments and we'll get through as many as we can.
Hannah, thank you very much indeed. Welcome along to this Monday evening. It's 7:45 in England. Fabrizio, buonasera. I think that's right, is that not?
Yes, it's right. Buonasera, buonasera. Ciao, Vic.
And are you the
Nice
same time? Is it 7:45 there, or you're an hour ahead of? Where are you at the moment?
No, it's 8:45 here. 8:45.
Right. As I always say at the beginning of this, we are doing these because of the extraordinary times in which we live in, and keeping people in touch with the game of football, which has been secondary to really the situation that we've all been through in the last few months. And Fabrizio, I wanted to talk to you about how it's been in Italy, because at the beginning of this dreadful pandemic, Italy suffered badly. What sort of lockdown did you go through? Just give us an idea of how it was.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. And before to start to talk about anything else, I would like to congratulate with the Richie Wellens, his staff, and all the players and everyone related to Swindon Town Football Club, because to achieve a promotion is never easy. I know, I've been there before, and so I'm very happy for everyone involved, because I still have a lot of friends in Swindon, in the area, and so after 9 years almost, to see another promotion is nice for me as well. But that said, yeah, the situation in Italy, as you said, has been dreadful, especially at the beginning, because like everyone knows, our country has been a sort of, center of the storm with regard to this pandemic, and we're still struggling, but fortunately we start to see the end of the tunnel, and but
Well, Fabrizio just seems to have lost his Wi-Fi connection.
Oh.
You're back again? Are you there, Fabrizio?
Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
you just froze for a moment. No problem.
Okay, sorry. I was saying that now the situation is getting better, but until 1 month and a half ago, the situation was horrific, because people were dying, and every day a lot of people died, and but now the situation has been better, and now we start to have a normal life, and we all hope that everything will be over soon.
Just to tell us about how you weren't allowed to go outside, I think, is that right? When you were totally locked down, how was that situation?
Yeah, of course we were forced to stay behind the closed doors. We couldn't go outside, if not just for, of course, to buy food. It was a proper lockdown. So you could just go to buy food, or, of course, medicals, or prime necessity, otherwise we couldn't even go out for a walk, and it was difficult, because you could just watch from outside and see all the streets empty, totally empty, and it was weird, and but then after a couple of weeks you get the habit to this, and everyone started to adapt to this new life. Myself, of course, I had to stop my job at AS Roma, and I went back to my hometown, which is in the north, Italy, Genoa. And of course, we try to manage our daily life in the new way. But now, to be honest, we can go outside with wearing the mask, because we have to be careful, because the virus is not gone away overnight. But now the situation is much better. Now we are talking about 50, 60 people dying every day, which is, of course, bad. But if you think that until 2 months ago, half of March, every day in Italy, between 2,000 and 2,500 people were dying every day. So that was horrific. But now, of course, it's over.
Yeah, like this country, of course, each one of those numbers is a person. Each one of those numbers is a family, and we should never forget that. Of course, you are still paid by AS Roma, though, aren't you? In this country, we have a furlough system, but you are still paid by the club.
Yeah, at the moment, yes, because here in Italy, the system is, I don't know if it's different from England, but we are not receiving. I'm talking about coaching staff or football people. In football, we are not. We are still paid by the club. Not with the same, not regularly like it was until, of course, before the lockdown. I mean, we get paid maybe now and then in 1 month and a half, but not regularly. But still, we are paid by the club. People who works in the office, maybe in the back, in, let's say, office or a groundsman or whatever, related to football, they get money from the government, because they're treated differently. They're treated differently from the players or coaches. But still, we wish we are managing.
Sorry, go on.
No, we are managing to have a normal life also from this point of view.
Well, we wish everybody well in Italy, of course we do.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Calcio then, if we might, otherwise known as the game of football. How did it all start for you? Because I think you coached at some decent clubs, I think it's fair to say. One of them was Inter Milan, the Inter Milan campus project. What was that?
Yeah, it's a project that is still ongoing in the club at Inter Milan. Basically, Inter Milan got connections with many clubs in the world, around the world, not famous clubs, but local clubs, and they try to export, if you know what I mean, the coaching methodology with regard to the coaching, to the academy. And myself and other colleagues, we traveled the world, and we went to these clubs to coach the coaches. Basically, it was something like that, like coaching seminars. I did that for 4 years, so I was able to, and I was lucky to visit countries that probably I couldn't go, never go. So, and thanks to the club, I went to China, I went to Cambodia, I went to Iran, I went to all the Eastern Europe, I went to Colombia, I went to Cuba. So, and I went there, and I met these coaches to, let's say, to coach them, how to coach young players. And that was a great experience, because it gave me the chance to learn a bit of English, or improve a bit. And at the end of this journey with Inter Milan, I had the chance to join a coaching course in Italy, and that was the chance to meet Paolo, and that was at the time where in 2008 we met at this coaching course in Coverciano in Italy, which is the home of the coaches in Italy. It was only Paolo. There were also other famous coaches or former players that then became coaches, like to name a couple, Eusebio Di Francesco, who was then coach at AS Roma and other clubs, so Serie A clubs, as well as Massimo Carrera, who went to Russia. But anyway, all Di Biagio, a great bunch of former players, Italian former players. Among them, there was also Paolo. And during this 6 weeks course, we start to know each other, to work together, to share ideas in football. And he probably liked me because at the end of this course, I remember he told us he would probably ask me to join him, and this was in, honest with you, I never thought it was I never thought he was lying, of course, but then you think, with all the people that he met in his career, why to pick me? I was coming from, lower leagues in Italy and never been a famous footballer. But after 3 years, I received a phone call, and I remember Paolo said, "Do you remember when I told you about join me in my coaching career as assistant?" I said, "Of course, I remember." And then he said, "Now I'm going to England." He said, I remember his words, "It's not going to be Man United," he said. "It's Swindon Town." I never heard about Swindon Town. Never heard, to be honest. But then thinking about England and the chance to work in this, country, because football in England is something that everyone who start to coach would like to experience sooner or later. So I said, after 5 seconds, I said, okay, I will join you. And then everything started from there. Then we came over in June, and we met the people at the club. We saw the facilities, we saw the country ground, and so that like everything started. But coming back to the experience with Inter Milan, it was a great learning curve for me, because I started to, in those years, I learned how to deal with different people, different countries, different traditions, different way of living, and it was an eye-opener. It helped me in my career, especially after England, when I started my own coaching career.
Of course, outside the county ground is the magic roundabout, and I think you could describe the 2 years that Paolo Di Canio and yourself had at Swindon as a bit of a magic roundabout, to be fair. You said you'd never heard of Swindon Town. Swindon famously, of course, did all right against Italian teams in the early 70s and beating like Juventus, Sampdoria, AS Roma, people like that. When you did first arrive at the county ground, what were your impressions? The club, I think, at the time, weren't going through a very low ebb, but they were going through a kind of didn't know where they were going kind of phase. I think that's fair to say. What were your impressions when you got there?
I can give you the first impression about what I felt, emotionally, first of all. I remember entering the county ground. I remember we were driving with Nick Watkins. He came in London to pick Paolo and myself and Paolo up at the airport. Then we drove on the M4 or M8. I don't remember if it was M4 or M8. But anyway, we arrived at Swindon, and I remember when we entered the county ground, I remember my feelings. I like it. It was like smelling the smelling football. You know, all this old-fashioned of the place itself. You know, the building. You know, the pictures of the old years, and everything was saying, you know, like now you are in the real football, in the English football. And for me, it was a fantastic. It was a fantastic feeling. Then we entered the pitch.
Just to explain, Fabrizio, we're having one or two little
I don't know
problems
if,
with your
and
Wi-Fi. So
I
just
smelled the.
yeah,
Remember,
we're just having a little problem with your Wi-Fi at the
okay.
moment. So
Sorry, I
just
don't know if
no.
yes.
Just to explain, it keeps breaking up and freezing,
Okay.
but it's fine. We'll carry on. We'll keep going. So the smell of old football. What you're saying is it had history and it had grassroots and it had feeling and it had emotion. I think that's what you're saying here, is it not?
Yes, correct. And I said, I was saying, then we entered the pitch, and there was Mark, the groundsman. I don't know if he's still there, and you know, the smell of the grass and everything was once again was totally English. But I don't know. It's strange I can understand. It's not easy for you to understand, but England, football-wise, for an Italian like me, it's something that you always dream for, you know, as a coach or as a player. And that was for me the best feelings. And then, of course, the people at the county ground, the situation wasn't easy. We know that, because when we arrived there was a sort of turmoil, and you know, the club were coming from relegation, and but still the people, you know, we met Jeremy Ray, and there was a sort of enthusiasm for new things, a new dawn, you know, and that was a nice feeling, very nice feeling.
So when you got there, of course, we noticed a tremendous sort of coming and going of footballers. You know, there was an amount of players coming in, amount of players going. What were the discussions as the coaching staff? What were you looking for in footballers? What did you want from them?
First, I have to say that this is something that I think I remember Paolo explained very well in those times. You know, when you go in a new environment, in a new country, and you think that bringing Italian players, in our case, I mean, in our situation, we were coming from Italy, and I remember that Paolo and myself, I agreed with him at the time. The idea was we bring few Italian players, and these players can help us to share with the players the idea, what we want to do, what kind of football we want to play. But we soon realized that it wasn't the case, you know. And if you remember players like Comazzi, for example, and others, didn't work for them, you know. But also other players, because you have to think that as a new coaching staff, Paolo, of course, Paolo knew exactly English football, but he wasn't used to know the fourth tier of English football. And so then there are agents that offer players, trials, you know, many trialists. And then without players without contract, or, you know, then you have to go day by day by trials and errors, if you know what I mean. It's a sort of scouting. Every day was a scouting day, and so players coming, players going. At some point, we realized who were the players that could make it, and those who couldn't. I remember that there were players that I don't even remember their names at the moment now, because they stayed for 1 day or 2 days. But then you have to do that, and because we have to find the right balance and to find the right players for the idea, the and you have to cope with what you have at the moment. But then I think that at some point, I remember that there was like a core of players that were very much reliable, and then around them you start to pick from different areas, different clubs. And I remember the very, and that probably was the first real turning point of our career at Swindon, when after the bad start of the season, I remember we won the first game in the league, and then we had 3 defeats in a row, or 4, I don't remember. And when we had this board meeting with Jeremy, with Andrew, and so all the board. And I remember Paolo. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. All good. Okay. Yep. Yep.
I remember the first thing that Paolo told to the board was, let's bring 4, 5 British players, because Paolo understood that people from other countries weren't ready to face the difficulties of the League Two, because English football is not only what you see every Saturday on the television in Italy. This is different. Premier League is totally different. But when you have to cope with the 4th tier of the football league, of the football league, you have to have players that know exactly the level of the football, the intensity of the football. And then that was the turning point, because the club was supporting Paolo. And I remember from that moment on, everything started to flow and to go in the right direction, because then players like Jake Jervis came in. I remember so even young players, but players with the desire to succeed, and together with players that were already reliable, like Matt Ritchie or Simon Ferry, or other players that were already with us. Then we started to build this group that became almost invincible.
If I might say the name Wes Fodringham to you, how important was that? I mean, he came in, not many people knew who Wes Fodringham was, but my goodness for me, what a signing that was.
Yes. Listen, when I was preparing my with this very nice meeting with you, I was thinking about which were the turning points, the key moments of our season. And one of those key moments was exactly when we brought in Wes Fodringham, because from a goalkeeping point of view, we weren't so sure about what we had, because we had Phil Smith, if I'm not wrong, his name, if I remember his name, Phil Smith, who was a very good professional, but probably I remember he lacks a bit of self-esteem. I don't know. He didn't give that feelings that you could rely on him. Then we had Lanzano, the Italian goalkeeper, who was one of those players who struggled to adapt to the kind of football. And then after 2-3, we didn't make any trials, but we scouted players, goalkeepers, and at some point we had the chance to see this young goalkeeper from Crystal Palace. he was from Crystal Palace, but he played in a low league team. And then when he came in, I remember exactly the day he came in for a trial, and with Paolo and Domenico Edoardo, the goalkeeping coach, he said, we found the right goalkeeper, because he was, also his attitude showed that he was reliable. Sometimes the body language say more than anything else. So he was like, he showed self-confidence. He showed that he had a very good technical with his feet, because he could kick the ball with his left foot. So he was, and when you have a goalkeeper like him, then all the team start to believe more. No, because you are more safe. You feel more safe with a goalkeeper of this caliber. And then for sure, his arrival was one of the most important moments of the season.
Made his debut at Accrington, if I remember rightly, in a victory at the Crown Grounds. Not the most glamorous of venues, but hey, it was an important win. And that was a time when really the defence was getting together as well. You had McCormick and Flint, did you not? And then Liam Rowdowsh came in and played a very important part as well, did he not? On a loan spell. So you were beginning to get the shape of the team right, weren't you?
Exactly. As you said, to win at Accrington wasn't easy, because, as you say, in England, it's not everyone's cup of tea to play at Accrington. So I remember the dressing room were horrible. The dressing room at Accrington was horrible, and I remember Paolo said to the players, if you want to go out from this place, we have to win. If we win this league, we will never come back in this kind of place, in this kind of dressing room, because there were players moaning, about the dressing room. And then Paolo used this to motivate the players and say, okay, if we are here, means that we deserve to be here. But if we want to go out from here, and never come back to Accrington and maybe go in a different level, we have to fight and we have to win. And I remember that was the first game that West played, and it wasn't probably the first game that Jake Jervis played, because first game played by Jervis was another turning point of our season, and probably no one can imagine. But I remember that after the game we played at Exeter away in the Johnston Paint Trophy, we won there, and Exeter at the moment was a very good side in League One. But when we played there, we were so commanding as a team. We won in style. I remember Jake Jervis scored twice, and probably the third goal was scored by maybe Gabilondo, if I'm not wrong. But still, I remember that after that game with Paolo, we start to think that probably we have found the right direction. And then, of course, Wes came in, Ian Riderhall came in, Christian Montano came in for a short spell, and it did well for us, even in a short period of time. But then, players coming, players going, and then when a good player was coming, to keep it, to retain him. And at some point, Jay McKeeverly came in, and then but this happened everywhere, in every team, when the players start to feel that everything is coming, like the pieces of a jigsaw start to match, and the new players come, and they find that there is already a good situation, and then everyone start to push to show that he can make it. And it's like something that feed itself. And then but again, the Exeter game was one of the most important moment of that specific the first season.
The style of football as well was coming, wasn't it? You mentioned the opening game against Crewe. Callum Kennedy got the opening goal. It was a penalty. Great atmosphere, flags being waved, Italian music being played over the system, the tannoy system. Then, as you said, it all went a little bit pear-shaped. There were doubts. People were beginning to say, hang on a minute, this isn't going very well. But I think around about the Accrington game, people were beginning to see what was happening. What was the spirit like in the dressing room from then on? I always remember a cup tie against Huddersfield and a 4-1 win against Huddersfield at the county ground, and thinking, do you know what, that's about the best game that season so far. I thought it was terrific, you know, and then it led, of course, to the Wigan victory. But, you know, that was the sort of football you wanted to watch at the county ground. It was fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. I remember that the idea, the football idea that Paolo wanted to bring, it was a mix, if you know what I mean, a mix between the English style and the Italian tactical organization. If you remember, in both the seasons, League One, League Two, and also League One, we were the best defensive record we had. But also we were not a defending team. We were always on the front foot, especially at the county ground, but not only at the county ground. The intensity of the game was the key. If you remember how many games we won in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Also against teams that came to the county ground and tried to park the bus. But, you know, at some point we were flying up, and then in the last 20 minutes we won a lot of games because, of course, the intensity of the training sessions, the intensity of the game.
We lost Fabrizio just for a moment. Are you back with us again?
We try.
Yeah, you're back. Yep.
Try to.
Just to say you're listening.
Sorry,
yeah, it's okay. No problem. Yeah, we're spanning countries tonight, so that's great. You know, that's fine.
So I was saying that I don't know what we heard, but I remember, you know, the intensity of the training sessions, the standards that we set, which were high for the players, you know, and once the players bought in that they could they could stand these standards, then it was hard for the opponents to play against us because, you know, we were so intense during the game, we were so pushing forward, and the Huddersfield game, I remember very well that because Tom Miller was playing Huddersfield at the time as a midfielder, and also Gary Roberts was there, and but when I remember exactly that when they came at the county ground, Huddersfield was a very good side in league. I don't remember if it was a championship. No, maybe League One. They were top of League One, if I'm not wrong. Huddersfield.
Yes.
But you know, they were shell shocked because they didn't get straight away which kind of football they were facing, because our players were amazing that day. I remember Simon Ferry played a fantastic game, but not only him. The whole team was fantastic, and other things. You know, you said what was the feeling, you know, among the players, and when you win this kind of games against those teams like Huddersfield or Exeter away, or even at the beginning when we beat Bristol City at Ashton Gate.
Yes.
That was another, but that was the first joy that we had in the league, in the season. But still, we felt this win almost like an accident. I mean, it wasn't exactly the start of the process. This was something that started afterwards. So, but the Huddersfield game at the County Ground was one of those games that gave the feelings that we were a good team, a good side, and difficult to play against.
Yeah, it was a terrific performance. You mentioned earlier Matt Ritchie and Simon Ferry, of course. Both those careers, I think it's fair to say, benefited greatly. I mean, I know Matt Ritchie said, I spoke to him once and he said, I learned so much in the time that you were there, Paolo was there. And I suppose with players, you have to change attitudes. Is that fair to say? But once they get that attitude right, you can then make them the players. Look at Matt Ritchie's career, for goodness sake. Wow. You know, he's gone on to play in the Premier League, play for Scotland. Fantastic stuff. So once you can get the player switched on to that attitude, I'm guessing that's what you want as a coach, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, correct. I mean that I think when you, once again, talking about Paolo, when you are a player working under under Paolo, under a manager like Paolo, you have two choices. There are two ways, two roads. You have to just to pick the right one, which means if you know that you know you are going to struggle, you know you are going to maybe you don't have fun, maybe you have to live with tension, but if you buy in, then you become a better player. But not only as a player, also myself, I was struggling sometimes to cope with Paolo standards because I had to work 24-hour days every day, very moment of relax. But I know I learned a lot. I improved as a coach. I improved as a professional working under him. And for the players, it was the same. The players that left, the players that didn't make it, they weren't able to cope with that kind of standard. So players like Matt Ritchie, Simon Ferry, Alan McCormack, Paul Benson,
Yeah.
Other players, they will always speak highly about Paolo, about ourselves as a staff, because they struggled at the beginning, but they didn't give up. And once they understood that this kind of intensity, not only physical intensity, but also psychological intensity that was demanded by Paolo, then paid off. And then if you know this, then you start to feel stronger. And then you can fight, you can beat anyone. But see, some players couldn't cope with that. Simple, simple as that. And those players who couldn't cope with that, unfortunately for them, they didn't they weren't with us anymore, because there were players that weren't able to catch the standards that some other players did. And players like Matt Ritchie is the perfect example, because Matt Ritchie was, of course, was a good player, and you could see straight away he was a fantastic player, but he never pushed himself to climb up in his career, to improve a lot, and to try to not to play just for, yeah, I'm Matt Ritchie, I'm okay. No, you have to become the better, the best. You have to improve. And then he started to become Matt Ritchie, who played now for Newcastle. Simon Ferry did the same. Simon, at the beginning, was one of those players who didn't quite like, to run, to push, to train in the real sense. And then he struggled. It was one of the players that struggled the most with Paolo. Then he changed his approach. Instead of moaning, instead of he started to probably something clicked in his brain, and he started to push, because he was also his pride was a bit hurt. And then he started to push, and Paolo gave him the right reward, because he started to play him, and he was one of the best performer, especially in League Two in the first season. Alan McCormack as well. Players that benefit from working under Paolo.
You mentioned Paul Benson there, and he was brought in, wasn't he? Not only did he get the winner against Wigan, of course, in that famous cup tie, but I always remember an away game at Morecambe around about Easter, in a vital 1-0 victory, last minute of the game.
Yes.
Paul Benson chases the ball and makes the defender play it off him, and closes the defender down last minute of the game. Now, this is a player who's been around the bottom leagues, been in non-league, but my goodness me, what spirit did Paul Benson show in that last half of the season for Swindon?
Yeah, but listen, talking about Paul Benson for me is easy, because I think for me, in my opinion, it was one of the best professional I worked with. Always professional, always humble, always listening to what we had to say to him, and then he came he came in a moment of his career that was a bit dropping in his career, because he was already 32 or 33 if I'm not wrong, I don't remember. But when he came in, he was another player that was struggling a bit, with the intensity of the training sessions, but with his professionalism, his dedication, he started to become one of the most important players for us, because he was inside the box was a sentence, because every ball coming in the box was almost goal, because he was a terrible header and fantastic goal scorer. And that game that you mentioned against Morecambe away was one of the most difficult games for us, because it was against a team that they weren't one of the best team of the league, but still they were difficult to play against. And that also the environment was a bit difficult. But then, with organization, without conceding a lot, and then came the moment where Paul Benson made this very good piece of football, and then we won this important game. But I remember Paul Benson scoring other very important goals in the season, and he was like a regular top goal scorer. So he scored maybe when we were struggling to break opponents down. It took just maybe a header from him, and we could score. So another very important player with him was also Alan Connell. Alan was terrific, and but all the players, I remember, all the players everyone made his part, his work to make sure that it was a successful season.
Alan Connell, of course, got the first goal against Wigan after they'd taken the lead through a penalty. But, that famous Saturday afternoon, which, a fourth division team, for goodness sake, beats a Premier League team, that is kind of unheard of, really, at that time. I mean, we'll move on to the championship in a moment, but I must get your feelings about that. Well, I've got another question to ask you about, Paolo.
Yeah, of course.
Those of us in the stand, right, we're watching in the stand, and we'd have a little wager as to when he would hit the plexiglass of the dugout, because that was the thing he used to do. He hit the plexiglass, if you remember, when he got a bit annoyed. And also, he used to turn around to you a lot during the game. What did he say?
Yeah. It was, of course, needless to say that what you could see, everyone could see from the stand, it was this passionate man, walking on the touchline. And Paolo, when he was turning to me, he was just probably releasing his tension, because he was just saying to me something like, "Did you see what he did? Did you see these players?" He was just expressing his maybe sometimes his frustration, his anger for something that didn't work. And I was there. I didn't even to say something to him in return. I didn't have to reply to him. He was just he needed just someone to listen to his frustration. I mean, frustration in terms of leaving this tension, to releasing this tension. And it was one of also one of my tasks as an assistant, you know. But then probably people could see only the public image, but the best moments with Paolo were probably after the game, where when we were sitting in our office, relaxed, me and myself and him, and we were reviewing the game in a relaxed mood with a cup of tea or cup of coffee, because Paolo, when he was inside, like you know, in not in the public stage, you know, he was very much relaxed, very much pondering things, you know. But in the game, he was so passionate that he needed someone to express this passion. And then he was turning to me and said, "Fab, did you see Matrici? He should do this, he should that," just to give an example. But of course, I remember someone was joking about myself. I couldn't see the game, you know, because Paolo was always, but it wasn't true, you know. I was very much focused on the game. Of course, Paolo was more focused on what our players were doing. I was the one to watch more closely what the opponents were doing. And then, of course, we share some quick informations straight away during the game. But going back to the Wigan game, I think that was one of the masterpiece as a staff. We did as a staff, because I remember that every one of us, myself, I was preparing, I was studying all the previous games that Wigan played. I remember I was trying to spot on the internet if there were players that could play, maybe youngsters. So we tried to, I tried to figure out which was probably the starting 11. I remember Domenico, the goalkeeping coach, studying very well the goalkeepers, the Wigan goalkeepers. And then Paolo, of course, prepared the game with the players, trying to exploit the weakness of Wigan, you know, of the Wigan team. And I remember that at the end of this game, we were celebrating a proper staff win. I mean, team win. You know, players, staff, club, fans. You know, because I think that the enjoyment that we gave as a team, the players and ourselves, to the supporters was amazing. You know, that all the town was buzzing.
Yeah,
That was one of the best moments in our career.
It was amazing, and Wigan, of course, went on to win the cup the next season, did they not? And Swindon were the last team to beat Wigan in the cup for several seasons. Yes. So it was an amazing performance. Now we could go on all night, Fabrizio, but I'm aware that, you know, we'd always spend the whole evening. But I thought I would show you this. Now, this might bring back some happy memories for you. You might remember this day. This is the day when you got the League Two Championship at the County Ground, a 5-0 victory. What a way to win it! Yes, what a way to win a title. What were your memories of that day?
Of course, I have. I still remember that day, because, of course, we all knew that could be, and then it was the celebration of one season. You know, that was a tough season. You know, because of course we have still to think about everything happened behind the scenes. You know, because to win a league is not easy. Especially from where we started from the beginning of the season. You know, totally confusion. We never knew what we didn't really know what could work or not. But then I remember first that my family went over, my mother and my brother to celebrate with me, and there, it was the first time for them to fly to England. So for me personally, it was an emotional day because I had my brother who is on a wheelchair, and he was on the side, because, and then for me it was particularly emotional. Then of course you still think that in a game like this, where all the people is behind you, and you know that they just wait to celebrate, the feeling is that what if we don't we can't win like today. Then when the first goal came in, happened with this fantastic drive from Matt Ritchie. It was a nice pass from Bostock, John Bostock,
John
and
Bostock, yeah.
Matt Ritchie shoot from distance, and this ball came in. When the ball hit the net, it was like the best moment of the season probably, because then this tension is off at some point suddenly, and then the second goal came almost afterward, so very very shortly after, and then after the third goal probably we start to breathe and think just about the celebration. And then of course at the final whistle, then every all the people come go inside the field. It was a fantastic feeling, and so very very emotional, very very nice, everything, so the best the best moment of the season.
So you've achieved that, you've got a title, and then of course the following season, expectations are sky high, I think it's fair to say. You go up to League One and you make a decent fist of League One, let's be honest. Now let me take you to Leyton Orient. When people were hearing various rumours, I know we're skipping a great part of that season, but this is where many fans will point to a 0-0 draw at Leyton Orient on a Tuesday night. And there were rumours about may or may not be happening. What were you thinking at the time? What were you knowing at that moment? I know you want to talk about the great times at Swindon, and, they were great times. But, of course, things move on. So what were your feelings at that time?
No, it's history now that at some point something started to change inside the club, because there were rumors about this takeover, and there were rumors about new people coming. Of course, when we first came there, the atmosphere was exactly what you wish for, because the chairman Jeremy Ray was a gentleman, true gentleman, and his relationship with Paolo was fantastic, but not also with him, also with other people inside the club. Then when you start to hear about this takeover, of course it's normal that something started to worry you a bit. And I don't remember exactly. You mentioned the Leyton Orient game. I can't remind exactly which was the moment where something started to change. I remember this moment where everyone was trying to convince Paolo not to leave, because it was almost. I remember that Paolo was in an internal fighting with himself, debate, because we love the club, we love the place. Every one of us as a staff were. I remember for me personally, I would have stayed years there, because my family was fine there. My wife, I had a lot of friends. So when you start to think that probably this could come to an end, then you start to worry. And then something start to, like, the stone that start to roll, and then it becomes bigger and bigger, until like everyone knows, there was a moment where in January when there was this transfer window, that was clear that everything could be different from what it was until then. And Paolo decided to leave, to resign. I don't want to go inside, too much into details, because of course it was his own choice. But from my point of view, and from ourselves as a staff point of view, we came to Swindon with him because he wanted to us to join him, and for us it was natural to live with him. So that was simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, you had one game in charge, and we jokingly said at the beginning where you're one of the rare managers who's got a 100% record at Swindon Town. Of course, it was a great victory at Tranmere Rovers on a Tuesday. You went to the top of the table and then immediately left. Did you ever think back on that decision and think, I wish I'd not left, but were you totally loyal to Paolo and decided you wanted to go with him? How did you feel?
Listen, I never had for one moment even the thought to remain, to stay. For the reason I told you before. I think loyalty in life for me is a value. Is more than the ambition. I am an ambition man, and I'm very ambitious, but I'm not that ambitious to forget what people did for me. When you have to think that when Paolo picked me, asked me to join him, to come to Swindon, I was a local head coach in a local club here in Italy, close to my hometown. Never made the professional football, really. And when Paolo asked me to join him, for me it changed my life, not only professionally, because now I work professionally as a coach. I work for one of the biggest clubs in Italy and in Europe, as Roma. But this is like an outcome of what Paolo did for me. So especially at the moment, I think is good to know that in the morning before the Tranmere game, when we decided with Paolo that me and the staff would have gone with the team to the game, because he resigned the day before, and on the Tuesday we traveled to Tranmere, and in the morning the board asked me they offered me the job, but I told them no, thanks. I'm not going to be disloyal to Paolo, because I would have regret for my entire life. I couldn't watch myself in the mirror. So I'm not. I don't regret what I did, and we traveled to Tranmere, and now it's a time to clear the air about what happened that day, because I heard too many rumors, and I want just to tell this. When before the Tranmere game, we were sixth in the table, and our plan with Paolo, the day before we traveled to Tranmere, was let's go there and win, to live as a top of the table, in a way that everyone could see that we left the club even if we were top of the table, not because we were sixth in the table, because we were top. Despite we were top of the table, we left. So the plan was we have to go there and win the game. But then the day before the game, Paolo didn't answer any phone calls from the players. I was answering the phone call from the players. A lot of players were phoning me, asking what's going on, what happened, why the gaffer left, why he resigned, why. So there was a lot of confusion. The players were They didn't know what was going on. They knew that I was going to lead the team, but you have to think that a team that is led by Paolo Di Canio is very much dependent on this kind of personality. I couldn't replace Paolo. So what we decided to do with Paolo was a sort of, in psychology, it's called reverse psychology. So I have to find a way to motivate the players to go and win. And I did it my way. I don't want to go, the players know what I did, what I told them, but I did that because I want the player to stay compact, to think only about themselves. Because I couldn't replace Paolo, I couldn't motivate the players like Paolo did. The players were completely out of the blue because Matt Ricci left. We didn't know what could happen. The only target we had was to win that game, and I had to find a way to think how, and I did it my way. The players know. I don't think I don't want the others to know what everything happened that day was to make sure that the players could find the to make like to wear the shield and to go and fight for themselves and to win the game, and they did it, and this is the fact that counts. So, and we left as we planned as a team top of the league.
Well, obviously after that, there was the brief interlude at Sunderland, which I don't know. I mean, obviously it went a little pear-shaped for you up there. You had wonderful victory over Newcastle in the first game, if I remember rightly, and then the start to the following season wasn't great. So that was another episode where somehow, was that an unfair dismissal? How would you describe that brief time at Sunderland?
We can split our time at Sunderland in two periods. The first period was amazing. We came there. I remember it was the 1st of April, and there were 7 games left to play. The team was in a sort of free fall because they were, of course, they were going down and down. But then, Paolo, when we came there, he started with his passion, with his energy, and the players couldn't hide anymore. They had just to rely on what Paolo was asking to them. And of course it worked, because straight away we played Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, and we were leading 1-0 at the halftime. And then we thought maybe it's a good start. But then in the second half, Fernando Torres came in and scored a brace. So we lost, but still we came back to Sunderland with a nice feeling that, the team was responding well. And then we had this famous win at Newcastle in the derby game, which gave us the boost to believe, and the players to believe that we could make it. And we made it, because with 1 game left, we were safe, and it was a fantastic achievement for the club, for the whole environment. The season after, once again, everything changed, because sometimes the things can go wrong for many reasons. One reason for me was that the team that we built wasn't exactly ready for, in my opinion, for that level. So too many players came in without any they weren't for that level, in my opinion. But sometimes you can. We need we. It was similar to our first part of this our season in at Swindon, you know. But then at that level, you are not given the time to amend your mistakes. And unfortunately for us, after 4 defeats, exactly like at Swindon, after 4 defeats at Swindon, we were given the time, and the club was supporting Paolo. At Sunderland, didn't happen, and then of course I think that the main difference between Swindon and Sunderland is that Swindon, the players were players that wanted to succeed. They wanted to push. They wanted to fight. They wanted to achieve something. Premier League players, you know, maybe they are not so. They don't have the same desire to sacrifice themselves to work to push, and then it's too easy to say, it's the manager's fault. And but then unfortunately I can say, and everyone can see now, where is now Sunderland? League One. You know, now you will play Sunderland next season.
Yes, indeed.
The problem is that when Paolo was saying to the club, to the board, listen, there are 2-3 players that have to leave because they call, I remember Paolo called them rotten apples, and the club wasn't ready to do that. And now those players were still there, but they fell down Championship and League One.
Before we finish, we should say congratulations, because you're the only Italian to win a title in Finland. So that is a pretty good honour to have, isn't it? That was at, let me see, Inter Turku. So that's a nice one to have in your...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So how was that?
Finland, first it was good because I lived in Finland 2 years, and it was a fantastic experience. I went there as an assistant manager once again, with a manager, the head coach. The manager was a former Premier League player, Chef Kikuchi, who played for Ipswich Town in England and Blackburn Rovers, and is Finnish basically. They used to call him Flying Finnish, and after a few months, there was a problem, and he left for his reasons. He resigned, and the club offered me to take his place, and I did it, because sometimes you have to choose. Sometimes you choose not to do it. Sometimes you have to choose to do it. I did that. I became head coach the first season, and we finished the season with a easy. In an easy way, very safe. And in the second season, the season after, we managed to achieve this title, the Finnish Cup. We won the Finnish Cup in a very nice game against the club of the capital, Helsinki. We won this cup, which gave us also the chance to play this European qualifier in the season. But after a few weeks, I had this phone call from AS Roma. They offered me a job as a under 17 head coach. And for me, you know, it was not to come. I wanted to come back to work in my home country in a club like AS Roma. But the experience in Finland was very good, because Finland is a nice place to live, first of all. Very cold, but you know, the level of football is quite good. I think that we can compare the top league. We can compare to like League One in England, and I had also English some British members of staff. It was in England, but still interesting.
Fabrizio, thank you very much indeed. It's been fascinating hearing about your time at Swindon, a wonderful period for Swindon supporters, without question. And nobody will ever forget the Paolo Di Canio celebration at the end of the game, walking to the centre circle, holding the scarf up. It's one of the great memories as a Swindon Town fan. Now, I know Hannah will rejoin us now. There are loads of questions for you, if you're okay to hang around and answer these from the fans, because you are still, very well regarded in the town. So, Hannah, have you decided to join us again?
Oh, yeah. I am back. So
Hi,
we'll
Hannah.
start. Hiya. We'll start off. So you've kind of touched upon management at Swindon, but do you want to go into first team management at any point in your career?
Oh yes, of course. Yes, I do. I'm of course after my experience at Swindon, I was traveling around the world once again, because I was a first team coach in a Portuguese club in second division. Then, as I said, I went to Finland and I was head coach there. And now I'm head coach in a club like AS Roma, even if at academy level, under 17. But who knows? Of course, now I am a pro license coach. I got all my license. One day, why not? I would like to come back to England to start my career there. Why not? Yeah.
Sounds good. And we've had quite a few questions to this nature. Are you still in touch with Paolo or with any of the players you were with at Swindon?
Of course, with Paolo, yeah, but not often, because now we don't work together anymore since many years now, and now he's not even doing a managerial job. So now he's working just for the Italian television, and there are not many occasions to stay in touch with him. But yes, we sometimes we send each other text messages. But I'm in touch with Simon Ferry, with Rafa De Vita. So a few weeks ago, I had contact with Luke Rooney, with Matt Ritchie. So not all the players, but Oliver Risser sometimes. But the ones I am in touch the most are Rafa, De Vita, and Simon Ferry.
So we did actually have Simon Ferry at one of our live events recently, and he was telling us a few stories from the dressing room during your time there. So we've got a question in about, did you let the players dance?
Now that was a joke or something that was around at the moment. I think this comes from the moment that time when we had to play Aldershot away, or maybe I'm not sure what it means, what they meant, but or maybe when we were in pre-season in Italy. I'm not sure about that, but it's probably when we were in pre-season in Italy. What do you think?
I think it was something to do with Paolo had said turn the music up and let them dance. I think that's what he told us.
Yeah, but I always heard this from time to time from the players, but I don't really remember what it means or what it meant at the time. I remember about dancing. I remember one of the few moments where Paolo was maybe letting the players enjoy a bit. It was in pre-season, the second season in Italy. So it was the pre-season of the League One. And we all went to this club in Italy, in the place where we were doing our pre-season. And the players were, or we gave them a night out, let's say, like that. And that was one of the funniest moments, because I remember Simon Ferry walking naked in the corridors of the hotel, trying to get inside his room, but he couldn't, because every room was locked, and he was trying to knock every door to and pray someone to let him in. And I remember myself and Paolo were climbing stairs, and we suddenly saw Simon naked on the car in the car, and said, "What's going on, Simon?" And even Paolo there was laughing at watching him. So, but Simon and tell a lot of stories about our time there.
And we've also had a question. So we know the players kind of had quite strict nutritional diets they had to follow. And so how often were you sent out to Old Town to keep an eye on the players, whether they were going out drinking?
Never. I never went. I personally never went outside because, to be honest with you, we were quite strict with regard to diet or drinking habit, if there was a drinking habit. But when you see the players pushing in training session and they don't struggle, it means that they are doing well also on a diet point of view, and otherwise they will not make it. They can't make it with the kind of intensity that was required from us in terms of training. So I don't remember. I couldn't go because I lived in Marlborough, so go in the old town to see if the players were there. No, I never. But Paolo was strict, but he wasn't like a policeman, you know. So we were very, very focused, very much focused on what the players did during the training sessions. We tried to trust them. And they listen when you see. I remember Simon Ferry, the very first day when we traveled away for a pre-match or with a away game. He came in the bus, and there was a basket full of candies close to the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And he came on the bus and picked 2 or 3 candies. And Paul said, "What you doing, Simon? Let this leave these candies." And it was strange for Simon. Then, when they realized that avoiding some kind of food, if we call them food, but it was beneficial for them. So they started to buy in also this part there, because it's professionalism, to have a good diet, because they use their body to play football. So if you eat well, your body works well.
Definitely. And you've touched on a couple of them, but what was your funniest moment working with Paolo?
My funniest moment, I don't remember to have any fun moments with Paolo, to be honest. No, I mean, Paolo is a very funny guy. Funny, I mean, he likes to have fun. He likes to have fun when it's time to have fun. And I remember of course, when we were just the 4 of us as a staff, 4 Italian or 5, because there was also the fees. We used to gather at Paolo's house, and maybe we watch movies, or we watch a game. We have dinner together, and there was a lot of fun. But when it comes to the daily basis job and what we did, I can talk more about some relaxing moment, but not fun. Yeah, of course, there is one very funny moment. I remember when Paolo was particularly happy for something. We were in our office, and he asked me to phone Mark Isaacs. Mark is, of course, I know Mark is still there. I'm in touch with him because he's a great friend of mine. I remember at some point he said, call Mark. He asked me to call Mark, and then Paolo hid behind the door. And when Mark came in the office, was ambushed by Paolo, and Paolo in the back, and they start to fight, as a joke. But Mark was a very funny guy. Was a very good friend for Paolo and me, and I'm still in touch with him, and I know he's still the head of the security there. So
Yep. Yeah, he's still
yeah. So and but yeah, there weren't there wasn't so many fun moments, but yeah, Paolo, if when he wants, when he likes, he can be very funny.
So what are the other coaching staff that were with you at Swindon doing as the likes of Claudio and Domenico?
Claudio is now the fitness coach of the Italian national team with Roberto Mancini. So he had a wonderful career, because now he's at the top of the Italian football. And Domenico Doardo is currently working in the Saudi Arabia, as a goalkeeper coach of Saudi Arabian club. And then, of course, there is also Giulio. Giulio was the physio. Giulio now is living in Dubai. He's working there, and myself, I'm in Rome. So we are very much spread around the world.
Spread out now. So we've also got a question of, what do you remember about the Northampton away game where Paolo ran down the touchline?
I mentioned few key moments of our first season in charge, which were when Wes Foderingham came in, and the Exeter game away, and of course other key moments. For sure, one is the home game against Rotherham when we won 3-2, because then that was the first win after this bad period. And then, of course, the Northampton away was probably the biggest turning point, because it was a tough game. It was the end of the year, New Year's Eve or something. And as everyone can remember, we were leading 1-0. Then Saido Beraino scored for Northampton, if I'm not wrong. And then Oliver Risser was sent off. We were 10 men. And that there was this fantastic play from the back with Alan McCormack driving the ball. I remember Paolo shouting at him, "Go, go, go, go." He was pushing, it was like Paolo in that moment, if he could go inside the pitch and enjoying the play, he would have done it. And of course, there was someone shouting at him, you can't go, because if you go outside from your technical area, you would have been sent off. And Paolo didn't care, of course. I remember when Alan scored, his run, towards the end line, and but that is something that is part of the history of the club. I think that run, like in some way, like when at Sunderland he was sliding on his knees, after the third goal we scored against Newcastle. I think that those two moments are quite similar, for different environment, different fans, but the passion is the same. And then Paolo was sent off, of course. But of course, at that moment, you don't care, because your team is winning the game after 90 minutes of fight. That was a fantastic win.
It absolutely was. So we've also got, someone's mentioned the party on the pitch being a great event that was held to sort of celebrate the win. Did you ever consider getting up on stage with Paolo when he was singing with Top Loader?
No, not at all. No, because listen, I think there is a part of my professionalism. I mean, I think now I'm a head coach. I think that there are some rules, unwritten rules, that you have to respect. So when you decide to be assistant, you decide to be behind the scenes. You have to remain behind the scenes. You don't have to show yourself. Paolo himself knows and knew that a big part of his success is due also to what we did behind the scenes. But I don't want to, have any credit of this, because it's right that Paolo got the credit, and Paolo is under the spotlight. Like now, I'm head coach. I have people working with me, and I know how much important they are, but they know that I have to put my face in front, because it's now is my turn, and it was the same. So I never thought for it, and we as a staff, we had to do our job, try to do it as best as we can. And with regard to the relationship between Paolo and myself, we always say that he is the sun and I am the moon, you know. And it has to be like that. So I never wanted to have any. I was even embarrassed when someone tried to interview me, because I didn't want to. So I think that when you're a head coach or manager, you have to to carry on yourself all the good and the bad, and the staff has to be the staff. You have to work behind the scenes. This is why I will never accept to join the stage with him.
Yeah, I know you say you don't want to take too much of the credit, but what are you most proud of from your time at Swindon? Is there a particular moment?
Of particular moment of what I'm proud for. I'm proud for every moment I live at Swindon, because I'm proud to have always done my job as my best. Of course, I made my mistakes, and like everyone did, but my commitment to the club, my commitment to the cause, my commitment to Paolo, to the staff, and to the players, I can say that it was second to no one, because of course, when you deal with someone like Paolo, you have to make sure that you do your best, because he didn't accept, it's not about friendship, or it's about job work. And I knew that if I didn't my job properly, Paolo would have get rid of me. But I always try to make myself proud, and sometimes, even if you do your job in the best way, maybe you can make mistakes, but it's part of life. And but I'm proud of every moment I lived at Swindon Town Football Club. So.
And do you have a favourite memento that you've kept to remind you of Swindon?
A favorite, sorry?
A memento, so some memorabilia.
A souvenir, something like that. Picture, a medal.
A souvenir. Okay. Yeah. I got my mug every day. I have breakfast and I have my coffee with my Swindon mug, red and white. No, but I'm joking. I have shirts, of course. A shirt of the classic red shirt. I have scarves. I have all the. I have my all my. How you say? The magazine before the game. How you call that?
Programs.
The program, match programs.
Yeah.
The entire collection of match programs of all the games that we played, home games, some away games that I could pick from the changing rooms where we played. But most of all, I have my memories in my heart, and about my time at Swindon. I have my good friends Ben and Sharon, who they live in Marlborough. They were my neighbors there, and we still in touch. So I would like one day to come back and smell once again this county ground atmosphere.
So that actually leads quite nicely onto my next question. So we had Richie on the other day, and he mentioned that he'd quite like to set up a match between the 2012 champions team and the 2020 champions team. If you were to be able to sort that out, would you be interested in coming back for that game?
Not to play for sure. No, I mean, yeah, I'm 55. I'm quite old now, but no, of course I would like to, because as I said, it would be great to meet again all the people that I used to know, the players. Of course, depends when he wants to do it, because if it's it depends my duties with the club, with my club at the moment. But if I will have the time, if I will have the chance, of course, why not? I will be more than happy also to know the new people working for the club, starting from Richie Wellens, which, if I'm not wrong, he was playing against us. I don't remember if it was at Stoke or something, when we played Stoke in the cup. Is it possible he was playing? I don't remember, but I think he was a player during our time at Swindon. But still, anyway, yeah, of course.
Was it against Leicester in the FA Cup? Was it against Leicester in the FA Cup in the away game?
Yeah,
possibly.
Probably.
Because he was at Leicester for a
yes.
while.
I don't remember if he was. Yeah, probably yes. Yeah, and yes, why not?
And he said Paul Caddis would play for the 2012 team, of course, because he's now got 2 titles with Swindon, which is a magnificent achievement. Yes, yes.
And just to finish off, just kind of leading on from that, do you think there's any chance of Paolo ever returning to Swindon?
Do you mean to the city, to the city, to the town, or to Swindon?
Yeah, maybe just to visit.
As a manager, you mean? You have to ask him. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. This is something I can't answer to. No, because of course it's up to him. I can't answer. I can answer for myself what I would like to do in the future, of course. And but you have to ask him. You have to try to interview him.
well, if you could have some influence in that, Fabrizio, we would love to interview him. So if you ever speak to him in the near future, do tell him we'd love to do that. That would be great. Thank you.
I will try to.
Marvellous. Thank you. Well, I think that's just about wraps it up now, Fabrizio. Thank you very much. We could have spoken all night, to be honest. So many stories, so many games, so many great memories. And, you know, for a Swindon fan, those 2 years were just fantastic. What a roller coaster. And as I said to you before, those celebrations after the game, when Paolo walks to the middle of the pitch, holds his cigar aloft, people will remember those for a long time to come.
Yeah.
Maybe if we got a victory against a side in yellow that plays just along the road, beginning with O, that would have been great. I can't possibly say their name, but that would have helped. But it was fantastic. So Fabrizio, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And once again, congratulations to all of you as fans and all the people involved in the club. For this promotion. It's nice to see the club again in the League One, and hopefully it can be just the start of another promotion. I hope one day to see Swindon in the championship like you all deserve. And thank you again.
Thank you, Fabrizio Piccareta. Thank you ever so much. And good luck at Roma. We wish you well when eventually football returns in Italy. Buonanotte, I think, is that right?
Buonanotte.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good night to you, Fabrizio. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Cheers. Good night.
Thank you.
Fabrizio Piccareta, thank you very much indeed. Hannah will be back on Friday with somebody else who's rather famous in the history of Swindon Town Football Club. Somebody who has 3 names. He's called Sean Taylor. He'll be joining us on Friday evening. So, Hannah, what's the best way to get in touch if you'd like to ask a question of Sean Taylor?
Yeah, so we'll have our posts going up as usual on Twitter and Facebook, probably tomorrow now. So as usual, just drop them in the comments and we will ask as many as possible.
Thank you very much. Hannah, Fabrizio, have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.